Direct from Prosperity Palace in the heart of the Las Vegas jungle, Get Rich Radio. And your host, the millionaire maker himself, Marshall Sylver.
Booyah! Finally, chickadees. Yeah, we're live. We are blowing out the lines on this radio show. We've been growing by leaps and bounds, and we've experienced a certain amount of technical challenges as we've grown it. They're good growing pains. I'm live. It is the 6th of July, the year 2011. So much to talk about today. So much going on, plus great guests as always. And a couple things. Growing pains. I want to start there. I have a ritual with my son in the morning with Sterling Marshall Sylver. And that is that Mama, is up and down all night feeding him and changing him and taking care of him. So in the morning when I wake up, I usually wake up before her and the baby. So when I wake up in the morning, what I do is go over to his bassinet, pick him up, bring him over, lay him on my chest, and let him sleep there for a couple of hours so that Mama can rest and she doesn't have to worry about him. And I love it. It's massively bonding time. So while he's sleeping on my chest, sometimes he, is a little restless, and so I'll rock him a little bit, and that usually relaxes him, puts him to sleep. Sometimes he'll suck on a pacifier, and I think he's already teething. Today is his 7-week birthday, and I think he's teething already because he really digs it when I put my finger inside the pacifier. You'd think I had one in my mouth. And he kind of chews on the tip of my finger. It relaxes his gums, apparently. He has this little thing he does. I call it the poop scoop. The poop scoop is he starts crawling up my belly. He starts pushing with his little legs up my belly when his diaper's full. So it's an indication to me, Daddy, I need my diaper changed. And if you don't change it for me, I'm going to scoot all the way up so my diaper's actually on your face. So this morning, he starts doing his little poop scoot. And as he's doing his little poop scoot up my body, I stand up and I get out of bed. Erica says, "Where are you going?" I says, he's poop scooting. And so I take him into his room, which is beside our room, which is the room I knew he would never be in. Another story. So at any rate, I take him into the other room and I start to change his diaper. And it's moderately messy. It's moderately messy. So I'm changing it and it's moderately messy. I take it off of him. And my hand, just so you can get a perspective of what size he is right now, my hand still can go around his back and in about, about 2/3 of the way around his body. He's tiny still. So he's laying on his back in the bassinet, on the changing table, rather, and I got the diaper off of him, and I'm about to put the other diaper on him. I'm about to lift him up, put the other diaper on him, and this guy shoots a cannon full. A huge shot. That telling me he wasn't quite done. I'm not talking about tinkling either. That's been done before. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about number 2. Cannon shoot. All over my hand, all over the changing table. Erica walks in right as it's going on, and she just cracks up laughing. So I've been indoctrinated into full-blown daddyhood now. So, put a diaper on, wrap it around his wee-wee in the backside, just in case we have another shot at this, and I clean up the mess, clean up my hands, clean up the changing table. So, while he's doing that remind you, I've taken off diaper number 1. Diaper number 2 is wrapped around him. Diaper number 3 I'm using to clean up the mess that he's made all over everything. While I'm doing that, he takes a shot in what's now diaper number 3. So I take that one back off of him, put another one on him, and as I'm about to put it on, Erica's walked into the room. She realizes he's not quite done, so she puts her hand there to shield me, fills her hand up. I know, it's grotesque, and it's real life. There's a point in me telling you this story. And ultimately, we go through 5 diapers in the process of changing him to a clean diaper. He's fine, eats after that, everybody's happy. I love him so much. There's nothing he could do. I had nothing he could do, obviously, at this point. I love him so much. And you just put up with what you got to put up with. I love him so much. I can't even imagine. how people could be mean to kids. And I'm proud to be a father. I handled it. It's no big deal. You get used to it because it's a part of parenthood. Now, something obviously happened in the news. Yesterday, the verdict came back. And when the verdict came back non-guilty. And there were a lot of people in the Casey Anthony trial that were watching the trial that were enraged that it came back not guilty. Couple things, and this is very important. I really want to talk about this before we get into our show today. Yes, I would agree. Nobody ever harm a child. Unimaginable. The thing, though, when I heard the Casey Anthony verdict, it immediately occurred to me. Kim Kardashian, by the way, was outraged that Casey Anthony was found not guilty, which is quite ironic, being that her father presided over the O.J. case. At any rate, a lot of people were in an uproar that she was found not guilty. Couple things. I watched most of the O.J. trial. Back then, I had little to do. I didn't watch a lot of this trial because I have a life now. And at the same time, I also know that whenever I checked on the news, reporters repeatedly said it didn't look like the government had proved their case. I remember I was sitting in front of the TV when the O.J. verdict was read. I had like I said, watched the whole trial. It was blatantly obvious that he was guilty to me. And when he was found not guilty, my jaw hit the floor. And all I could think, because again, I wasn't there when Nicole Brown Simpson was murdered. I wasn't there when whatever happened to Kaylee happened. I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. Watching O.J.'s trial, though, I was fairly certain this man was guilty. All indications were he was guilty. And the bottom line, though, is that when O.J. was found not guilty, all I could think was there's a higher court at work here. Now think about this for a second. Here's a guy who spends his whole career being admired by people. And now his entire life, even prior to his lockup, was people would race up to him and say, "Oh, my God, O.J. Simpson, could I get your autograph?" And then after he gave the autograph, they'd say, "Now I have the autograph of a murderer. Thank you." His whole life changed, regardless of his guilt or innocence. Here's the thing I want you to keep in mind. People are who they are. So when O.J. was acquitted, we have to leave it at that. If not, we have a bigger challenge on our hands, which I'll get to. And the biggest challenge that I had with that process was that I knew that if O.J. got away with killing two people once, which it appeared that he did, that he would think he could get away with it again. And worse crime, that he was untouchable, that the system was his to manipulate. And sure enough, that's what happened. He ended up committing armed robbery, thinking that he could get away with it, and now he's in jail. So, ultimately the truth always reveals itself. I had an employee steal $1 million from me. She confessed, so there's no mystery. She confessed in front of 5 witnesses. She wrote me a check, wrote retribution on a check for $50,000 to pay me back. Then decided she wasn't going to pay me. Ultimately, I pulled teeth to get the government to prosecute her, even though she confessed in front of witnesses, wrote a check, restitution. Ultimately, she went to trial and was able to convince a jury of her peers, not mine. My peers don't serve on jury duty. My peers do everything they can to get out of jury duty because they can't afford to be on jury duty. She convinced a jury of her peers that she was innocent. And I remember the day that verdict came back, I felt like I had been raped. And I also know for sure, if she got away with stealing $1 million once, she's not done. She'll do it again. And the next person might not take her to trial. The next person might just take care of justice himself. Casey Anthony, ultimately, we weren't there. Here's what I just pose a question to you. I want you to ponder this, and then we're going to take a break. We'll come back from the break. We've got a phenomenal guest on today's show. Except I want you to ponder this during the show because we're going to talk about it in the second hour. If in fact, you knew that Casey Anthony was innocent of murdering her daughter and that what she was guilty of was negligent, that maybe the daughter drowned, as they suggested, she finds her daughter dead, freaks out, realizes that she will probably go to jail for negligent homicide, being negligent, not taking care of her daughter. But you knew that it was an accident and that it was her grief that made her freak out, do stupid things, and fall deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, so to speak. Would you feel differently? We weren't there. We don't know what happened. We do know that she did some odd things, and yet I just ask you this, and I want your opinion in the second hour. If we knew that it was an accident that she was just stupid about afterward, would you feel differently? So, when we come back after our guest, second hour, I want your opinion. 855-674-3874. That's 855 Mr. Get Rich. Great guest coming up right after this break. I'm Marshall Sylver. You're listening on the Get Rich Radio Network where, yes, we've got $1,000 cash to give away. Coming right up. Stay tuned.